is this business investable? The overall chip industry, the semiconductor industry, is it investable? Obviously, for a lot of people, it is. But for you and I, how are you thinking about this industry? I've got some thoughts about competition, capital, and like you said, the crazy amounts of change. But how are you looking at this industry? Are you staying away? If so, why? Are you attracted to it? What are your thoughts going forward?
So again, like I mentioned earlier, like if it gets cheap, I probably won't even recognize that it's gotten cheap. So it's probably not for me. And if I had to kind of invest a portion of my portfolio, I'd probably go for a basket bet. Like I would not pick individual winners. Although I recognize that there are companies like ASML which have like monopoly
Mm,
technology, which is like they're completely focused on just lithography, and like that's all they do, and no one in the world can compete with them. There's companies like Applied Materials, Lam Research, no one can compete with them, right? Especially ASML. But I would still prefer to go for more of a basket bet approach here. I can't see betting on an individual company. How about you?
I'm the same way. I have to stay away from it. You obviously get tempted when you see something like Nvidia or TSMC. It's like, oh my gosh, like, and then you kind of like, I'm not a momentum investor, but it's like Nvidia. It's like seems like things are going to be really good for a while, but I'm not a momentum guy, and it's just not in my circle of competence. And I'm saying like, Karan, that the competition is just I can't like some of these. It seems like there's not a lot of competition, but then in other parts of this industry, like maybe on the lower end of chips, it seems like there's a lot of competition. But then at the higher end, it doesn't seem like there's a lot. The capital requirements
But how do you
kind of
justify the
yeah
valuation? How do you justify
of
Nvidia's
Nvidia.
valuation again? No one can. Yeah, no one.
Oh,
I don't
I
get
don't
who's
I
buying
don't
it.
know, but I'm not saying it's wrong. Like it could be right, it could be wrong, but like if there's services and products that are going to come from AI that we can't even imagine today, and they're going to be a huge part of the economy 10, 15, 20, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, Karan, if there's that kind of runway, and if for whatever reason Nvidia just has whatever that industry needs, it's like I could see things working out great, but I don't know much about
Yeah.
it. But the capital requirements in the business overall kind of scare me away. And then uh, the tech changes, as we're talking about, Karan. Like people have been talking about AI for a while, but for whatever reason, in the last few months, everything just changed, and now that industry is going to grow massively, and now that industry is going to attract a lot more capital, which will make it grow even faster,
True.
and that leads to Nvidia taking off. But it's like, who could have? I couldn't have. A lot of people could have, but I couldn't have seen that like 2, 3 years ago. And for the loser companies out there that are on the flip side of that, where maybe their chips aren't needed as much or their chips are being replaced, I just way too far out of
It's
my
difficult.
circle of confidence.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's too difficult.
and yeah, so I mean that's it. But the question is, as an investor, do you still have to know about chips? Do you still have to know what Micron does? Do you have to know what Nvidia does? Do you have to know TSMC and the, all the just geopolitical and stuff that happened with the pandemic? Do you have to know about that stuff? I would argue you do, because whether you own like Carvana and you want to be able to know how, well, what happens if there's a chip issue? How does that affect the new car supply? How does that affect the used car supply? If you're a car company, if you're a new car company, that affects you. If you're in the food business, what chips go into John Deere tractors? Like I think all this stuff is super important. If you're on Amazon, what chips are needed in their cloud business, and who supplies those chips, and where do those chips come from around the world? It's like I think because they're in everything, you kind of got to know about this as an investor. So I'm gonna try to learn more than I know now, even though I'm not going to invest in these individual companies.